So my first speaker is Guidroz from Organic Bolus Farms. He left corporate America, mainstream America, to come farm. He decided that it is one of the most honorable professions. He grows organic foods. He's regenerating his soil, getting the most health out of the soil into the plants. And that's what he's going to talk to us about today. He and his wife Allison raise their children on their farm, and they grow their own food. And how wonderful is that? Something that we should all think about, where our food comes from in terms of our health, but also our food securities. So I welcome Grant. Thank you for joining. Hey everybody, please attention. The vendors, we'd like you all to please, if you speak to guests, speak quietly, because we are here for the speakers. If it's really loud, I'm going to have to come back there. Oh, hold on.
Hey you guys, thanks so much, and thanks for coming here. Okay, thank you. As Dr. Griffin was saying, I'm a farmer, and it's funny because I was just saying, thank you, Dr. Evelyn, for having us. Thank you for being here. As she was saying, I'm a farmer, and it's interesting learning the old word for farmer is husbandman. You know, so it speaks to husbandry, and it speaks to kind of what she was saying, where in any field you find yourself in, you could be a husband or a steward of what you're doing. And so yeah, the talk for today is regenerative ag, the why and the how. So we're going to kind of be contrasting a little bit this regenerative, and with these words regenerative, you know, words change. The meanings of words change. The meaning of this word will change. You know, the corporations will hijack words it's easy to put a sticker on something and say, oh, this is organic, this is this, this is that. But the principles don't change. The principles of what makes something regenerative. And what you'll see is that it's following the old path. You know, following the good way. It's hearkening to a way something that's been lost. And so that's something we're called to do. So regenerative ag, we're improving the soil, we're promoting biodiversity, decreasing tillage, using naturally derived, if any, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and then with grazing management for livestock. You know, livestock's not meant to be on concrete, just eating grains, getting sick, needing antibiotics. That's not normal. You know, one of my favorite books by one of my favorite authors, by one of my favorite farmers, is a book called Folks, This Ain't Normal by Joel Salatin. And he talks about, you know, a chicken getting big in 6 weeks that's just eating grain. It's not normal. You know, chicken was meant to be a chicken, a pig was meant to be a pig, and do pig things. And so you'll find that this ties into who we are. What are we meant to do? And so this old path harkens to what we are meant to do, where you see in the beginning God takes us from the soil, from the dirt, and breathes life into us. And then he creates man in his image, and he puts him in a garden and does what? He tells him to work it and to keep it. And so part of the way that the contrast to the regenerative, the contrast to the old path, is a cheap fix, is a deal with the devil. Is an old Faustian deal. That's you know, he says like I've got a better way. You know, like it's kind of hard work tilling the ground and doing rotating those animals. You know, but and you'll find that same thing has happened in medicine. It's happened in education. It's happened in politics. Anywhere where you are, I bet you scratch the surface and you see this is a little bit. Let's say you're a teacher. You could lead your kids, or you could just be punching a clock, And so you'll find that there's two paths you can kind of go on. That's kind of what we're saying. So it's kind of funny, this word conventional is used to describe agriculture where the soil is really just a substrate to hold the roots. The soil isn't appreciated for what it is, the biology, the chemistry, the physics that are going on. It's more focused on monoculture, not biodiversity. It's using synthetic chemicals. The farmers are really just cogs in the machine, growing an undifferentiated product where they sell it into a big commodity market, take whatever price, and they really have to be concerned about ag policy and tariffs and what the price of tea is in China. They're price takers, and there's big debt with them. So you'll find there's a whole, I kind of think about it, it's like Babylonian farming, or farming for Babylon. And you find farming is tied in with civilization, the downfall and the rising up of it. Get the next one. So the why. Any of y'all have kids? I bet you've heard why countless times. Why? And the first few whys can be subsurface or can be just surface, but pretty soon kids start asking 3 or 4 whys, and you're getting into deep philosophical, theological, spiritual territory. Why are we eating dinner? Why? It gets to who am I? To what should I be doing? Big questions. And so it has big worldview implications on what you should be doing. And you see that, I talked about in the beginning, God puts man in a garden, tells him to work it and to keep it. And if you read in Isaiah chapter 2, God gives you a vision of a new heaven and a new earth, where Jesus is ruling. He's the highest mountain. And it gives a scripture that I'd heard the first part before, but I didn't really pay attention to the second one. It gives a vision of world peace, and it says, and they beat their swords into plowshares, and they bent their spears into pruning hooks. There's 2 instances right there where God could have said, there's going to be a new heaven, new earth, and they took the weapons of war and they melted them all down for toys for the children. He could have said that. He could have said anything good. They took the metal and they did something good. But he doesn't. He gives us 2 agricultural instances that I think kind of harken to what we're supposed to be doing here, and give hints that in the beginning we're supposed to be tending and working the ground, being co-creators, being co-participants, and bringing order out of the chaos. It ties into agriculture, and it's a big deal. It's something so ordinary. Farming, there's jokes about what the oldest profession is, but really it's farming. It's farming, it's husbandmen, and so it's one of the most ordinary things is eating, producing food. But I think it's one of the most revolutionary things. We're in Revolution Square, and we're in the upside down world where farming is a revolutionary act. We're participating in your food consumption and production is a revolutionary act. I joke with other young first-generation farmers. My wife and I have been farming for 15 years, and so we're part of this a revolution of young farmers who are getting back into it, who are discovering the old path. And amongst us, we joke about, how did you come out to your parents as a farmer? How did you first break the news to them? That you weren't going to be a banker or an architect or something normal. You're going to be a farmer, and how upside down that is. All of my ancestors, I'm pretty sure, a huge majority of them said, if they were to say, Mom, Dad, I think I'm going to be a farmer. And they would say, yeah, we're all going to be farmers. We're all farmers. You're going to be a farmer if you want to live. That's normal, son. But we're in a day and age where it's abnormal. But it reminds me of this thing in theology. They have a term called the ordinary means of grace. So people, and it reminds me of a story that I heard whenever I heard that term, this ordinary means of grace. What is that? And it reminds me of a story I heard where a guy's on an island and the water's coming up, and he's gonna drown if he doesn't get off this island. So he prays to God, God, send your angels. I believe. Send a miracle. I believe, Lord. Just then, a big old log floats by. Okay, God, I believe. Get me off this island. You need to get me off this island. And then a guy rows by in a pirogue. And he says, and the guy's like, hey, you want to ride? And get on the boat. No, I believe in God. Go on. And he's up at the tallest tree of the mountain, and the water's coming up, and a guy with a helicopter comes, drops a ladder to him, and says, get up, you gotta come up, the water's coming up. And he says, no, you go on. I'm believing God for a miracle. The water comes up, he dies. He goes to heaven, and he says, God, what happened? And God says, look, I sent a log floated by, I got on a boat, I got on a helicopter, and so people want something supernatural, and God is the God of the supernatural, He is the God of miracles, but He's also the God of the ordinary, the dirt, the ground, and so that's, you want to see God work. So people don't make the connection, but it's like, Lord, protect my children, don't let my kids fall into despair. Lord, protect my kids from, all these things, and you got 3 meals a day. You've got a lot of extra time to do some ordinary things and for God to work in those things. So that's kind of what this harkens to, is why I do this thing. It's something so ordinary, but it ties in with there's powerful worldview and Christian reasons for ecological stewardship. For, that if this body isn't my own, and then this farm isn't my own, then this dirt isn't my own, I'm really just a caretaker, a steward. I'm a steward of my family, and so that's the right worldview to have, whether you're a teacher or whatever you're doing, or you're farming. It's not to be a taker, to be a giver, so to be a replenisher. And then there's social, political, and cultural. And it was only 2 years ago that I really found out about this word, agrarianism. Agrarianism. This word that encapsulated what I believe, what I am, what I think more people are, but they don't really know it. And it's something that there's a deep historical root for. The founding of this country, but even before that, back into Rome, and even before that, where they're hearkening about the need to grow food, about the values of a rural society. Rome, as it started out, was more rural, and the elites were more rural, just like America. And as the population goes more urban, and as the elites of a society go more urban, they become city cats, as opposed to outdoor cats. The Romans found out, hey, these guys from the city need about 12 more weeks of basic boot camp before they're ready with these rural guys, these farm boys. And agrarianism, a social political philosophy, promotes subsistence farming, family farmers, widespread property ownership. Where you will own something and be happy under agrarianism. And traditional life over urban, and decentralization of political power. Local communities over urban. And like I was saying, this has ties with our country, with Jefferson. All these guys wrote about the need for an agrarian society to support the freedoms of an independent republic. That this is the character, this will alter the character of life. Alter the life of an individual, which will change the life of his family, change the life of his city, change the life of his country. A bunch of individuals with this mindset. And then there's big health reasons to be an agrarian, to be in the regenerative ag. And that's what we'll get into now, is some of the health benefits of. So this graph right here is showing the mineral deficiency that's going on. So right about here is where you get the supermarket after World War II, which is funny. We talked about the contrast between regenerative ag and conventional ag. And if you notice, I put quotations around conventional, because how conventional is it to use synthetic chemicals that were only available after World War II? But somehow, we talked about the changing of terms and words, and they change meanings. So somehow conventional, so people will ask us at the farmer's market, is this organic? How do you guys grow? And we say, yes, this is the only way we learned how to, or as we call it, normal. This is more normal as regenerative ag. So you see the effects of, man thinking that he can do better. that he's like, oh, God talk, there's a lot of agriculture in the Bible, a lot about what to do with the animal sacrifice blood. You compost it. Jesus says, oh, the fig tree isn't giving fruit. What are we going to do? Oh, let's dig a trench around it, put some manure, and let's wait a year, see how it does. On and on about resting your field, about it lying fallow, about gleaning being incorporated into agriculture. So the man system or the Babylonian system has all the food growing over here, all the people here. We're disconnected from our food. So we talked about the way that agriculture and being connected to your food system, being connected to regenerative ag can change you. So what do you think the enemy wants? He wants you in a city, in debt, sick, unhappy, awful to be around, nothing good to share with your neighbor. All of a sudden you plant a tomato bush on your balcony, and even that is so empowering. So how the little things of and the other graph, you can't see it, but showed consumer spending going up on food, or consumer spending going up on healthcare, and the amount of money we spend on food going down. So that same graph, as mineral deficiencies are going down, cost of healthcare is going up, and there's never been a society that spends less on food than we do. And then so you find the graphs cross. Yeah. So that led us into what we're doing and how can we grow the most nutritionally dense food possible. And it became our goal. And you find that that's not even a question that the conventional world is asking. The big ag colleges are really interested in what's the least amount of cheap chemical fertilizer that we can add to grow a crop. They're not even asking how can we breed spinach to be more nutritionally dense, to be better flavored. You find that the monoculture has other effects, has side effects, which are really just effects. And one of them is diseases, so you get more diseases. So we'll just breed plants that be disease resistant. But you find in the breeding, you lose the old genes. You can't select for different traits at one time. So if we were to say, oh, let's have the most intelligent population possible, you might lose your best basketball players or your best, so as you select for one thing, you lose it, and that's what we've done as a society is lost, or in agriculture has lost our nutrients and gained convenience. So yeah, we get into the how to do regenerative ag, and it starts with the soil and the genes. And so a name if you want to look into soil is this guy William Albright, who in the 40s and 50s centrifuged out soil to its base components. He pioneered what's called cation exchange capacity, which is the soil's ability to hold minerals. And so that's what you find is soil is deficient, and any one thing that is deficient is going to be a limiting factor. And so that's what we're actually interested in is how can we increase this soil's ability to hold the right amount of minerals in proportion. This is another great book. That's a handbook, a how-to book to turn you into a soil physician, if that's what you're interested in. These are other great books on our journey is Elliot Coleman. It's a book by Joel Salatin. This book is a lot of our how-to handbook. These books really influence us about how to have a business, how to not be in a lot of debt, how to be thrifty, how to invest in movable infrastructure, the nuts and bolts of running a regenerative business. So this is the number one thing, as I would say, that you can do is be proactive. Join your local food system. Everyone should be stewarding something of the land, should be connected, even if it's through a surrogate. So I don't take care of children, I don't teach children, but I'm a part of teaching children through other people. And so you might not be able to grow something, but you can be a part of, you can be supporting someone who is. And but yeah, this is an ordinary means of grace. So it's something so ordinary. 3 meals a day you get to choose to support the system that you want to be a part of, or to support the system that is subtly maybe undermining your health, your family, your city, your state, your country, and your entire world. You know, that conventional ag, the green revolution, it went worldwide. You know, that it went worldwide. They would get third world countries into debt, and then to forgive their debt, they would have them adopt these agricultural practices that lock them into this way. And so there's a whole revolution going on in farming that's remembering the old path. And so that's something I'd invite all of us to do, is remember the old path and be co-creators, co-stewards of what we're doing. And yeah, it's maybe the most revolutionary thing we could do. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. And I can attest to the work that he does. We buy his food. He has a co-op, so you can sign up for a co-op and get his produce. A couple of us also volunteer at his community garden that he helps out for basically an underprivileged area. And he also helps the community by taking on interns. So if anyone you know or yourself want to learn more about this, he does take on interns. So you can learn and be part of the food revolution. So wonderful people to have in our community.